ice cream. All the ice cream in my house, in the world, and most of my stuffed animals.
My video games and, my phone.
What would you give for your freedom? Would you give your eyesight? Would you give ever seeing the sunset again? Would you give the ability to see your children's future? Thousands of brave men and women who served in the United States Armed Forces have given their eyesight in defense of our freedom. And the Blinded Veterans Association wants to give them their freedom back, but it needs your help. Go to BVA.org to find out about how BVA's free programs and services, advocacy, education, peer support, scholarships, and more help America's heroes to not just deal with the emotional and physical issues of sudden sight loss or impairment, but actually work to get them back to the independent lives they deserve to live. Go to BVA.org to find out how you can make a difference. They fought for your independence, and by going to BVA.org, you can find out how to help these veterans regain theirs. Go to BVA.org today.
Are you a big geek? Do you enjoy learning about new technology? Then join us on the fourth Thursday of every month for the Wisdom Geek Club at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also hear a pre-recorded episode on Wisdom Radio every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. For more information, hit up w4tb.org and click on the Geek Club button on the main page. And don't forget to share the wisdom with a friend. You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show. One of the most respected, patriotic, and brave things a man or woman can do is serve this country. Welcome to Vision of a Veteran. Spotlighting a veteran who served and may have gotten wounded. A lot of our guests have lost their sight or are vision impaired, and we'll hear their ups and downs of their lives and how to make a difference to support their brothers and sisters to navigate the waves. From the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, this is Vision of a Veteran. Now your host, Benjamin Keeley. Produced by Wisdom for the Blind and VNS Productions, a division of VNS International.
Keith, thank you very much for that intro. And everybody, welcome to another episode of Vision of a Veteran. Today we're honoring the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the end of World War II, where over 150,000 men hit the beaches and lost 4,000. But that's what brought freedom to the world. As we recognize the 80th anniversary of the landing of D-Day, putting the war to an end, allowing freedom for our men and women around the world. We recognize that over 4,000 men gave their lives during the landing, but we also need to remember that time is a very important thing. In this episode, I want to talk about time and how important it is for us to recognize and honor the men and women that fought during World War II, because time is not on our side. We must make sure that we remember history, we don't hide history, and we continue to honor and recognize them. In this episode, I had the honor of meeting 4 brave individuals that were part of World War II. And I'm going to talk about one. His name was Ed. And it was a great honor to meet him and his family. On August 29th, 2022, Wisdom for the Blind held its first Field of Sea event, and it was the opportunity to watch Artemis 1 launch and go back to the moon. It was a great opportunity for me to meet other veterans that were blind or vision impaired. Another thing that occurred was I had the great opportunity of meeting 4 blinded or vision impaired veterans from World War II. I felt so honored to meet these gentlemen and get to know them. In this podcast, we're going to talk about one of them. His name was Ed. And when Ed came into the room, he lit up the room. Everybody went to Ed because he had such a great story and had such great history in life and sharing it. I remember the first evening we had a dinner and we had a speaker from NASA. His name was Dr. Love. And Ed and Dr. Love, they had a great bonding. And throughout the whole event, every time you saw Ed, there was somebody with him just listening and getting to know him and understanding the things that he did. So right now we're going to listen to a segment from a friend of mine, Josh, with Orcam. Let's hear what Josh had to say.
Hello, Josh with Orcam here. Mr. Ed, wow. It was such a pleasure and a blessing to meet you at the Wisdom for the Blind Artemis launch last summer. And although after 2 failed launch attempts, you were always, you always kept your positive attitude. You're always happy. And that one stuck with me quite well. I remember even having a great time at the NASA dinner event before. The night before, I believe, where we were meeting the astronauts that were heading there. And I mean, you were definitely the special guest that evening with, telling your stories. And I believe you had a piece of element as well you were carrying in your pocket. So it was such a great time. Just love being around you. So it was such a blessing again to meet you and thank you for expanding my view in life in such a small amount of times. I think in a couple of days that we hung out. After knowing you. So for that, always going to be appreciative. Thank you so much.
That was a great segment from a good friend of mine, Josh. Josh, thanks for participating in this podcast. As you went on and you participated in the Field of Sea event and went to the different events, and we went to the visitor center, and unfortunately the first time it was canceled. So I had an opportunity to meet Ed again. And some of the great things was every time you went over to the launch pad, which was just 2 miles away from where the rocket was going to go, there was always a NASA official that was out there. And they'd like to talk to Ed because Ed worked on Mercury, he worked on Apollo, he worked on all kinds of different projects at NASA as a welder. And they just, the astronauts and the staff and the engineers and the people that built the Artemis just loved to listen to the history. And there was a lot of history there and a lot of great knowledge. And, Ed was not the only veteran there. We had a bunch of other great veterans. And like I said, we had 4 other World War II vets. And what I'm trying to put out on this podcast of ours is time that we can share with our veterans, not only World War II, but Korean and Vietnam. That time is not always going to be there. So we have to make sure that we honor it. We're going to share another clip from ABC News that interviewed Ed. Let's listen.
Monday's NASA launch will be seen by millions of people all over the globe. But for a group of veterans, it's not about what they'll see. Instead, it's about what they will feel.
ABC 13's Nick Notario explains how these visually impaired veterans are getting ready for the experience of a lifetime.
On Monday, America's next step in space exploration takes flight. A journey that's extra special to Ed Vrona. After serving with the Air Force in World War II, he assisted NASA on projects including Mercury, Apollo, and Hubble telescope.
I worked with people from NASA since 1959.
On Monday, he won't be working, but witnessing.
The Earth will be shaken. It's 26 feet in diameter.
NASA expects 250,000 to be in Florida to watch Artemis 1 launch. Eddie Tardy will join Vrona.
I'm excited. I can't wait to hear, see, and feel what's going to happen.
The Vietnam veteran has never witnessed a launch, but has an idea of what he's in for.
I've got the B-52. And if you multiply this 50 times, that's what I'm imagining it's going to be like.
The launch is unique to the vets because they won't view it like others. They're visually impaired, but that doesn't damper their excitement.
Goosebumps on top of goosebumps. And no, I'm looking for it. I'm so careful so I don't fall or anything to, so mess up my plans.
The group, Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, is making it happen. A handful of visually impaired vets will get to be just miles from Monday's launch.
Close enough to knock you over?
I'm sure it may.
A launch that means more than just what they feel.
Yes, we got problems. But everybody wants to come to America. Why? Because we're the best.
A sense of pride each feels after defending the country that continues to lead the world in space exploration.
That was a great package that the local ABC affiliate did on the Artemis launch Field to Sea event that Wisdom for the Blind held. And it just shows that all our veterans out there, World War II, Korean, Vietnam vets, they all have great stories. And we need to get to understand all those stories. No matter where Ed went and no matter who he interacted with, everybody just enjoyed the time that they spent with Ed. I remember working with a lot of people. Jennifer from NASA, Ed was one of her favorite vets during the events. And she used to always ask, how's Ed doing? Is he coming? Is he going to be at the next launch? And it was always yes. And every time Ed showed up, it was so fabulous to have the energy. He had more energy than I did. And I remember he used to say, oh, this is my life. This is so cool. Thank you, Ben. Thanks to Wisdom for doing this. And people would say, well, why are you bringing a bunch of vets over to see that can't see the launch? Well, you have to remember, just because you can't see doesn't mean you can't feel and experience and see the faces on these guys and the women. Just makes it such a wonderful event. One of the positions at the VA is called a VIS coordinator. And another good friend of mine that I met and have worked with for several years now, his name's Greg. He's the VIS coordinator, and he was Ed's VIS coordinator. Let's hear from him.
Hi, Ed. This is Greg from the VA. I've had an opportunity to meet and work with a lot of wonderful U.S. military veterans since I started in the VA over 17 years ago, but you are indeed a very special person. It's a true joy for me to know you. I look forward to each time we have an opportunity to catch up and hear some of your amazing stories from times past and present. You go through life with purpose each day. There was a time in your life when you retired from gainful employment, but you have amazingly continued with purposeful living, dedicating your time to biking in the Keys with your wife, working together with her to create that amazing dollhouse, and making wood crafts and other creative, thoughtful items to give to others. Thank you, Ed, most sincerely for your service and sacrifice to our great country, and thank you for always being the wonderful, kind, and generous person that you are.
Greg, thanks for those great words. It just shows who ever gets to be around Ed, and not only Ed, but all our veterans, their lives are lifted. And to remember that these guys were the ones that fought for the freedom that we have today in America. So what we need to do is we need to remember to say thank you to our vets and remember the stories, because 80 years since D-Day, soon we won't have these vets with us. And I hope from my heart that we never forget the story. When we come back, we're going to talk to Ed's children and his grandchildren and learn more about Ed and what a great husband and father and a grandfather he was. Please stick with us. This has been with Vision of a Veteran from the Fort Lauderdale studios. We'll be right back.
VA's Office of Blind Rehabilitation Services estimates there are approximately 130,000 veterans in the United States who are legally blind, and more than 1 million veterans who have low vision that causes a loss of ability to perform necessary daily activities. In this era of instant communication, where we get overwhelmed with data or facts that are useless to unsighted individuals, wouldn't it be great if we could count on news focused on real problems that impact the daily lives of veterans without sight? Introducing Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, an advanced informational portal designed by blind veterans specifically for blind and vision impaired vets that, like them, are facing challenges every day. Hi, my name is Ben, and I know the frustration. I've struggled in day-to-day tasks for over 20 years since I lost my eyesight. One of my biggest challenges has always been trying to stay up to date with the latest information of my eye disease, local news, and the ever-changing technology. I wanted to be able to have one single site that merged all the data scattered, and that's why we created Wisdom for Blinded Vets. This is a portal that can be accessed via the web, a smartphone app, telephone, email, text messaging, or Amazon's Alexa. It integrates with readers such as JAWS or Apple's VoiceOver and various other tools to give you a seamless experience. This portal will keep us updated on a variety of topics and will share knowledge that can help make our lives easier and more fulfilled. Highlights of the topics covered on the portal include podcasts, events, news, blind rehab and training, information on the BVA and other groups, a list of coordinator and bros list, online groups to interact with fellow vets facing the same challenges, and much more. Give us a try. You will not be disappointed. To learn more about us, visit our website www.w4bv.org. If you're interested in sharing your knowledge, please consider becoming a contributor by logging into our portal and going to the contributor section for more information. Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, transforming blind veterans' lives.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's4tb.org and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind. You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Thank you very much for sticking with us, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Vision of a Veteran, where we're spotlighting a great veteran from World War II. His name was Mr. Ed. He just brings light to everybody's eyes, and it was such an honor for me to be able to spend time with him. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drop in and talk to his daughters and himself. And we're going to see what's happening, and maybe you'll get an opportunity to feel the joy that I had in my life, getting the opportunity to meet him. So first we'd like to introduce Vicki and Joanne. How you guys doing today?
Oh, we're great. In the middle of a blizzard.
A blizzard?
Yes.
Well, it's only 79 degrees here today in Fort Lauderdale. Sunny.
Yeah.
But
what's the difference of 78 degrees? Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. So tell us about your dad.
Well, I grew up in the 50s in Cicero, Illinois. And I guess the one thing, or what I remember most, is he was always making things, building things. So he redid the basement so that we have this wonderful rec area down in the basement. And then he built the garage in the alley so that's to park the cars. And then he put a dormer on the top of the house so that there were 2 bedrooms and a bathroom upstairs that my brother and I had. So he always had major projects going when he wasn't at work, which was a lot.
Yes, so how about you, Joanne?
So from my perspective, I came 11 years after Vicki, so things were a little bit different, but we were always on the go. So we were camping, we were canoeing, we would go to a sportsman's club. Heaven forbid anybody would schedule something on a Sunday in the summer that was like a shower or anything that took away from outside time. Dad did not like that because he wanted, of course, after working all week and always putting in overtime, he wanted to be out. So we were very outdoorsy, always going to the sportsman's club and picnicking and going on hikes. So that's so true. I just remember growing up, I never was home to sit down and read the Sunday newspaper. that never, ever happened in my lifetime. So, yeah, we were not a family that sat around. No. We would always get in the car every Christmas. We would drive to Florida. So poor Dad has done the reverse this year. He went from Florida to, the shores of Lake Michigan with a bomb cyclone and a blizzard. So we used to spend our growing up years in Florida and go to the beach on Christmas Day.
There you go.
You have to use 80 stairs to get up to the house.
Well, that sounds like an interesting time, especially going to the beach. Was that in Florida that you went to the beach on Christmas?
Yes. Yeah, South Beach in Miami.
South Beach. I remember I grew up in Miami. I used to live in Kendall Lakes, and we used to go to South Beach before it went bankrupt. So that was a great place. My family actually owned a hotel right on Biscayne Boulevard. So I remember going out there and watching the Orange Bowl parade and all of that good stuff when I was growing up. So
the New Year's Eve parade is something that we also attended, but Key Biscayne, Bayfront Park, and Key Biscayne was one of our favorite visits.
And actually, every year we went to the parade. Orange Bowl parade. Yeah, to the Orange Bowl parade. We would go there.
Yeah, that was good times. My family owned the hotel right there, so we had an apartment. It was the penthouse on the top, so we'd lay out on the balcony there and watch the parade go by. The apartment was right across from the monument there, so where the torch is. So we got front row seats there. So, but it's a whole different world now down there. So.
Oh yeah, still a good place.
Oh, it still is a lot of fun. So after growing up, what happened next? I know Ed was working at different places that did a lot of work for NASA. So what do you remember about that part?
Actually, I did not know what I was doing at that time. If I did, maybe I'd have been frightened and not do it. But I enjoy. I want to put in that I really enjoyed my family. I really enjoyed living with my family, camping, going out walking, and especially dinners that my wife would make. We'd have a bunch of people over all the time.
Well, and so our brother lives in Washington State. He's not here, but during the summer, Dad would always take the Boy Scout troop. I think they were probably Eagles at that point, and sometimes be gone for 2 weeks. They would go up to the Boundary Waters in Canada and go camping. So he was always working overtime to make sure that he had, had the extra money and everything, but then always have the time. And what my brother remembers is the Boy Scouts and everything he did with them.
Well, then we have a funny story with my brother. In 1964, when he was in 8th grade, he had to do a science project. And Dad had brought home some papers about what he was working on for the space program, and my brother had read it. So my brother did his science report on going to the moon, and he got an F on the paper because the nun said it was supposed to be true science, not science fiction. And so Dad and Mom had to go into school and talk to the nun and tell her that it was not science fiction.
In fact, I think I bought a blueprint of some of one of the projects. But I enjoyed my work a lot. They treated me so good, and I enjoyed talking to all the engineers from different corporations with the NASA program. I learned a lot. They treated me really good there.
Well, they are a good group of people to work with. So, some of the projects that you worked with, Ed, my understanding you worked on the Mercury, on the Apollo and the shuttle. Is that correct?
Yes. Every one of them, I knew I had something to do. But on one of them, I think it was the Mercury, the capsule on top, all them shields, beryllium, I worked on every one of them.
Wow. That's pretty incredible.
Every space shot, I had something to do with it. The last one, I mentioned to one astronaut, optic platform. They would look through that to make a safe landing and a safe landing site. And they could look through that optic platform that I worked on.
That's fabulous.
What puzzles me, I made 18 of them, only 7 were used. I was wondering where the rest of them are.
They might be used on the next Artemis missions.
I don't know.
So let's roll back a little. When you were growing up, Ed, when did you join the military and what branch did you join?
I joined the Air Corps in 1940, but that was in December, so they had me come back and take my oath in January 1941. Could I inject a little comedy in here?
Yes, sir. Just a little.
On December 7th, when the war started, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, I spent the night in jail.
Well, I got to hear this story, Ed.
All right. So there was a guy in our class, Dewey Tutton, and lives in Arcola, about 40 miles away. My friend had a car, so 4 of us went out to his party. And we were supposed to stay at his house. Comes 11:30, 12 o'clock, he's not around. So we went out the street looking for a place, and there was no hotel. We seen some lights on in the city hall. We went in there and told the guy he let us sleep in the brig. So that night we spent in the jail. And next morning he said, right at the door, get out of here, we're at war. We couldn't believe it. So that night I spent in jail.
That's a great story. So, where did you go to basic training?
I had no basic training. I never shot a gun. I never was on a rifle range. Because I was due to go to school, and so that interfered with the basic training.
So you went straight there, right?
Yeah. Well, somebody had a scarlet fever or diphtheria, something, and we were quarantined. And when the quarantine was over, I was going heading for school. Machinist school. It was A very, very, very good school. Very good program.
So you went to machinist school for the military?
Yes.
And then after school work?
That was at Chanute Field, just out of Champaign, Illinois. Chanute Field in Rantoul, Illinois. And from there, I was supposed to go to Africa, but I was sidetracked, and I spent almost 2 years in West Palm Beach. And from there, they sent me to New Guinea. I was there for 21 months. And that was quite an experience. I think it changed my life.
And after New Guinea?
Yeah.
After New Guinea?
What?
After New Guinea.
Oh, after New Guinea, I would come out, and they lost my records. I was a little island in Ulithi, in the South Pacific. They lost my records, and so I couldn't get off of Guam for almost 2 months. But I got out. I was too late for school and wanted to go to school, but something got in my way called love, and that was the end of my college.
Well, tell us about your love that you
I met my wife Georgette.
And you met her in Guam?
What?
Where did you meet her?
I met her at a dance, but I said I fell in love with her. That was the end of school. We were married 68 and a half years.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, it is.
Great job. I was stationed in Guam when I first started in the Navy. So after you fell in love, then you got married for a few years. Then what happened?
Well, then I stayed in the shop, and that's why I got somehow or another, by luck, I got to working on this space program. And I later on found out that I worked in one of the test bed shops, job shops they call it, in the country. And they got me some good equipment, and I worked on all this close tolerance stuff for the space program. And everything I'd done was with beryllium.
That was the metal that you specialized in, right?
Yes, it's not metal, it's an element. I don't know, the Richter scale 7.4 something. And in fact, right now, my son-in-law handed me a ball I got in my hand. It's a solid beryllium worth a couple $100. And this was supposed to have been for the backpack of the astronaut in his back, like a bone socket, because that program didn't work out. But this is the stuff I worked on.
That's fabulous.
No.
Yep. I saw it.
Joanne brought it down at the first time she was down there. She brought this down.
Well, Ed and Joanne and guys, thanks very much. It's becoming a great show, and I appreciate you participating with us. We're going to throw it to the studio for just a quick little check-in, get some public service announcements. This is Vision of a Veteran. My name is Ben. I'm your host. We're with Ed and his family. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. We're coming to you from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Share the wisdom.
Thousands of brave men and women who served in the United States Armed Forces have given their eyesight in defense of our freedom. And the Blinded Veterans Association wants to give them their freedom back. But it needs your help. Go to BVA.org to find out about how BVA's free programs, services, advocacy, and more help America's heroes to not just deal with the emotional and physical issues of sudden sight loss or impairment, but actually work to get them back to the independent lives they deserve to live. Go to BVA.org today.
Hi, I'm Christina Hepner. And I'm Leslie Hoskins, and we're hosts of the Taking the Lead podcast from Leader Dogs for the Blind. Our podcast provides insight into the blindness community and impactful stories from our clients. At Leader Dog, we continue to be the answer for thousands who need our free services. These include guide dog training, white cane training, and more. Once clients complete training, they're reintroduced to a life of safety and independence. Learn more at leaderdog.org.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
And we're back. And thank you very much to everybody for sticking with us. And we're with Ed and his family as we talk about his experience in World War II and how everything occurred. And basically, I had a great opportunity when we met. So first, Ed, tell us about when you started losing your eyesight and what happened.
Well, Dr. Dunn, a retina specialist in Daytona, he assured me that I'll never go blind. I had missed maybe 10, 15 shots of Eylea was the last one. About 3 years ago, lucentis aventis shots to my eye. That slowed the process. And I think about 3 years ago, I had a shot in both eyes of Eylea. And the last time I was to the retina specialist, there's no leakage into my macular section. So if I had this Eylea 20 years ago, probably I still have my full eyesight. But I can see I'm not blind.
Can you tell me your experience with the VA? How's that going? And I guess your VIS coordinator is Greg.
I praise the VA every chance I get because I've been with them about 37, 38 years, and I never had any bad experiences. They're also nice. I think that every Monday they have a session. Be nice to their servants this week. They treat me great. They treat me, as I said, I want the war myself. No, they treat me great. I can't complain about the VA.
How do you like working with your VIS coordinator?
So Greg.
Greg,
Don't say his last name.
Greg.
Don't say his last name.
What?
Just talk about Greg.
Oh, Greg is my low vision coordinator. He's the one that set me up with this program with you. He's great. He keeps in touch with me. He does a great, great job.
Very good. So you and I had an opportunity to do one of our first Field to Sea events. And we took a bunch of vets and families to Canaveral. You were part of that. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yes. They didn't realize that I was representing World War II, but then when Joanne told people at NASA that I worked on this program, they could not believe it. So they must have checked me out because within a couple hours, the guy sat next to me and he said, "We know all about you." He mentioned something that only he would know if he checked on me. But the VA treats me good.
That's great. So, did you enjoy watching the Artemis launch after 3 times?
I cannot explain it. Anybody asks me, the only thing that made a big impression on me, it seemed like that fire was coming at us. It's just, this is what hell looks like. You know, that while you were there, it seemed like that fire was coming right at us.
It was great, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh. I was up for 22 hours straight to see that thing. I think the adrenaline was really running in me because I was up from all day long and into the night, all the way trip back to that John brought me. It was great. I would not have missed it for anything. I just can't believe how everything shook, the vibration, the noise, and especially the people that were around us. They were all scientists or some, with the space program. Talking to some of the people as well as education, just listening to all that.
I think some of them were educated by listening to you. I tell you what, the third attempt where it finally went off, I was right next to you, Ed, and you were like a rock star, buddy. I mean, there was more NASA employees just talking to you all night long. Oh, the launch is coming. Well, let me stop talking to Ed, So you were a little rock star there, buddy.
I'm the luckiest guy you ever met in your life, honest. Over and over again, it's proven. Everything that I look back fell into place in my life.
So that's great, and we're glad that you enjoyed yourself, and it was a pleasure meeting you. And
I never won $1 million. I did a little Stairway to the Stars, but a lot of stuff in between.
That's great. So I think you also had an opportunity to work with our partners at Operation Song. What did you think of that experience?
What?
Operation Song. Your song.
Oh, well,
can I just add something? Because
yes, please.
My husband John and I had just gotten to Dad's house, and when David called, and so David said, I'm going to call your dad and I want to interview him. He said, but I've never talked to a 103-year-old person before. He says, do you think he'll be able to carry on a conversation with me? And we're like, oh, you just wait. And so then when David called back the next morning, they had a great conversation. We sat around the table and it was wonderful. And David was able to take all the essence of Dad and put it in a beautiful song. And David had said the hardest part of this job, writing this song, is going to be to keep it under 20 minutes. So he did a wonderful job.
He did. And Ed, what did you think of the experience?
Ben, it's pretty hard to, because I don't think I deserve all this attention. Honest, I don't. Yes, it was nice. And every time he mentions about meeting my wife, Georgette, bring tears, because she was the best thing in my life. We were married 68.5 years. Wonderful, wonderful person. She was great. She was so easy to live with.
So Ann and Joanne, tell me a little bit about your mom. How is she and your dad?
Oh, well, my mom she was like the quieter part of the couple, because Dad was always talking to people, but mom was like the calm and steady person. She would, make sure she wasn't a housewife. She actually went back to work when I was in grade school, but she would, compliment Dad so well, because they would go for a walk, and, she would just keep on walking and he was talking to whoever he met along the way. She was very much into cooking healthy and exercise and all of that. She was just, a great mom, grandmother. So she was kind of like
she was the heart of the family.
Yeah, kind of the rudder. Whereas Dad would sometimes ping all over the place doing different things. So he always had projects going on, and Mom was the steady one, always, kind of making sure everything was put back in place. Yeah.
We biked a lot together. I took her bike into a motel one night. It was in Wisconsin. That bike had 54 miles on that day. She canoed with me down the river. She did everything. We danced a lot. We were the first one on the floor, the last one off. And then in Key Largo, when we were in the mobile park, somebody started a swimming program. My wife and I just kept swimming. We've got over 500 miles in that pool.
Wow. That's great. Well, we got a little surprise for you there, Ed. What we're going to do is we're going to hear from David, and he's going to actually introduce the song, and he's going to talk about what it was like working with you, and how he got the energy and everything to write that song, and then we're going to hear the song. So everybody just stand by.
Hi, my name's David Kent, and I'm one of the staff writers, if you will, over at Operation Song. I want to tell you a little bit about the song we're going to play and how it came to be. I got a call one day from Mike Beyer, who is the executive director over at Operation Song, asking me if I wanted to write a song with a 103-year-old veteran living in Florida by the name of Edward C. Vrona. Now, I'd had a few chances to write with other World War II veterans, some in their late 90s and one who had just turned 100, and every one of those experiences had been fantastic, and I couldn't wait to do another one, so I jumped at the chance. And then when I spoke to Edward and his family members, I was even more intrigued. This fella had led the most remarkable life, working in a number of areas that all had to do with flight. And the more we spoke, the more interested I became in his career and his devotion to making things fly. Military flight during the war, civilian flight, and even space travel. It also turned out that he is a big believer in angels and actually makes wooden angels in his shop, or at least did until recently, and gives them away as gifts. So we came up with an idea. The song is called Angel Wings, and it talks about how Edward has spent his entire life helping people, both literally and figuratively, to soar. So here you go. Angel Wings by Edward Vrona and David Kent. I was born in 1919 at the end of World War I in Wisconsin on Independence Day. I've been blessed with kids and grandkids, great-granddaughters, great-grandson. So I guess the good Lord hears me when I pray. I've worked on huge jet engines and the planes of World War II, space telescopes and missions that the astronauts flew. But this life remains a mystery. There's so much that's still unknown. But there's one thing I know for sure: we're not alone. You see, I believe in angels more and more as years go by. I believe one day we'll all have wings and fly. From Chicago to New Guinea, to the surface of the moon, I left my mark. I've been a part of some amazing things. You could say I spent my whole life making angel wings. Yes, it's angels who have been there when I needed them most. And I do believe they're sent from up above. They help us hear the word of Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. They guide our hand and shower us with love. But there's one I met right here on earth I never can forget. The one I gave my heart to, my perfect sweet Georgette. My partner in this dance of life, and each night I dream of when I'll get to hold her close beside me and we'll dance again. Because I believe in angels more and more as years go by. I believe one day we'll all have wings and fly. From Chicago to New Guinea, to the surface of the moon, I left my mark. I've been a part of some amazing things. You could say I spent my whole life making angel wings. My parents named me Ed, my old friends call me Red, and I think that great-grandpa's the sweetest name of all. So the Lord can pick and choose any name He wants to use when it's time for me to heed the call. You see, I believe in angels more go by, and I believe that we can all achieve amazing things. So I guess I spent my whole life making angel wings, angel wings.
And we're back. Then we heard a great song. So, Joanne and Vicky, what did you think of the song?
Well, everybody who listens to it, it brings tears to their eyes. And it just captures the essence of Dad. It's wonderful. Well, and the melody is phenomenal. And, you know, when angels come up, that's just how Dad had lived, and Mom. So yeah, truly emotional. We played it for a neighbor last night, and she started crying.
Well, it brought tears to my eyes when I heard it for the first time. You actually sent it to me before I got it from the studio, so I was like really shook up. So Ed, how was it? Did you really enjoy that? What a great song, buddy.
Yes, I like it, but I don't know. I just keep saying I don't deserve this. There's other people that did a lot more than I did.
Well, I think it was a great song. I think you're a great person, and it's an honor that I'm getting to work with you.
Well,
I appreciate that. And
I'm the luckiest person you ever had contact with. Honestly. Ever since I remember my life, there must have been a guardian angel on my shoulder all the time.
Well, it's important to us, though, it wasn't for the blind to basically document the lives of our World War II vets, our Korean vets, because they don't teach that stuff in school.
No,
and you guys did so much to help found this country and keep it going. And even my daughter, which you've met, she was just, thrilled to be able to meet you and spend some time with you. And that's what it's important.
Yeah, I met her on the bus and your wife also.
Yes,
Ben,
you did.
I don't know how I can thank you because you're responsible for all of this in some way. So thank you. And it's easy to say thank you, but you got to prove it somehow, and I can't. But anyway, thank you.
I did. I did get some pizza. My daughter ate a whole one by herself. So the next part, we're actually got some recordings from friends and family, and we're going to listen to those now. And then when we're done with that, we're going to come right back after a short break. So let's hear some of these little messages from your family and friends there, Ed.
Okay, I'm listening. I can still hear pretty good.
I think if I had to put it all into one concise thought, I'd have to say my dad was our role model. He never lectured us. He never chastised us. He led by example, and I think he gave us the independence to kind of choose our own path in life. And sometimes we tripped and fell, and they were there to help us, and we weren't judged. He showed us how to lead a successful, happy life, and I don't think I'd be where I am today without his expertise, so to speak. So he was.
One of my favorite memories about my grandpa is that when we were younger at the lake house, him and my grandma would make a magic sandbox, and they would hide little presents in there, like little toys and knickknacks and things, and it was always so fun to go out and find new things each weekend. And then one of my other favorite things he did is he would always every summer put up a tire swing on one of the trees in like the back side yard, whatever it is. and it felt like you were swinging on top of the world. So I just love that he always did a bunch of like little things to kind of make everything more special and magical for us when we were younger, and he still does. So he's definitely added a lot of wonderful moments to everybody's lives.
My dad never deliberately taught me life lessons, unless you count changing a tire, which didn't go well, but rather he modeled the way. His actions, particularly kindness, hard work, and appreciation, impacted how I live my life. He showed me how taking a little extra time to help a neighbor would come back to him tenfold when he needed help. Dad was a hard worker all his life, and he showed me my best efforts would bring results. He always told me to be kind to people as I was working my way up the ladder, since I may see them again on my way down. Finally, he always modeled thankfulness. I see the impact this has had on his life, and I try to remember that no matter how busy I am, to take that extra time to say thanks.
When I think of my grandpa, the first thing that comes to mind is family. Growing up, we always spent time together as a family. We went on trips together to Door County or visited my grandparents in Florida and spent summers at the lake in Indiana. Even now, Grandpa talks about how lucky he is to have a great family. Family is everything, and he and my Grandma Georgie set the example of that for all of us.
This is Ed's daughter, Vicki, and what I've learned from my dad is to embrace life with your family and your friends and even people you meet in everyday life. You should laugh often, eat well, which he certainly has done, and go places. And basically, you should be thankful and enjoy your life.
Hi, Grandpa Ed. From the time I can remember, Grandpa Ed is someone who enjoys life to the fullest. He welcomes everyone and is one of the kindest people you'll ever meet. Many of my best memories are with him and Grandma, from the days of going canoeing and camping at Essex Lake, biking the Chicago lakefront, and trips across Wisconsin to biking across the state of Iowa. All the wonderful visits in the Florida Keys and every fantastic summer in Michigan City. Grandpa Ed means the world to me, and he's still going strong. He's loved by everyone who's been lucky to meet him, loved by family and friends, and now even NASA. My boys and I look up to Grandpa Ed, and we are so proud of him.
What I can say about my grandpa, Edward Vrona, is that he is an extremely brave human being, and he does not give up on anything, and he pushes himself to get things done, and he has had such an amazing life, and he's been through so many unique things and stories to tell that it would put anybody, in my opinion, to shame with the amount of things that he's accomplished in his life. And at 103 and still going, I still see him doing things that I am not even doing myself.
It's such an honor to be putting this podcast together, and I appreciate everybody that's participated in doing this show. Right now, we're going to drop into the studio, and we're going to get some public service announcements. Remember, you're listening to Vision of a Veteran. This is Ben coming to you from Fort Lauderdale Studios for Wisdom for the Blind. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks.
Thousands of brave men and women who served in the United States Armed Forces have given their eyesight in defense of our freedom. And the Blinded Veterans Association wants to give them their freedom back. But it needs your help. Go to BVA.org to find out about how BVA's free programs, services, advocacy, and more help America's heroes to not just deal with the emotional and physical issues of sudden sight loss or impairment, but actually work to get them back to the independent lives they deserve to live. Go to BVA.org today.
I took a musket ball in Chancellorsville.
Hi, I'm Mike Byer, Executive Director for Operation Song, where we pair Nashville's songwriters with veterans, active duty military, and their families to tell their stories through the process of songwriting. Our services are 100% free, and songwriting or musical talent is not required. For more information, check us out at operationsong.org. If you think this is something you're interested in, email us at contact@operationsong.org.
The last last Monday in May.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for sticking with us. And we're here with Ed and his family. We just heard some great messages from his family and friends. And Ed, I really appreciate that you've given us your time today during the holidays. And anything in closing that you want to say?
I can't express myself, my feelings, but thank you. How can I thank everybody for something like this? You can't.
And Joanne and Vicky?
Well, this whole experience has been wonderful. And it basically started in August when we first heard about the space launch. So these past 4 months, 5 months, it's just been just what a thrill. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and I would just say the association with Wisdom for the Blind and NASA has just been quite an experience. Met the nicest people, Ben, you and your family, and, Jenny and Tracy from NASA. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, now the Operation Song people, it's just wonderful.
So this is John. So if there's a spare seat, I know Ed said he's ready to go to the moon.
Well, he's going to have to fight my daughter. I'm sorry.
Ben was Bill Nelson, the senator. Was he there at any time I was there?
I'm sorry, who?
Yeah, this is not after the podcast.
Bill Nelson, the senator that's in charge of NASA.
Yeah, yes, he was. He was at the reception at the courtyard with us.
All right. Yeah.
So it's not for the podcast.
Yeah. I wasn't sure, but I talked to so many people. And you know what was interesting is talking to them astronauts, especially that one girl. She was a fighter pilot on the F-18. That was a great experience of talking to her because she joined the Navy as a recruit and worked her way up. I joined. No, the whole thing was an experience for somebody that's 103 years old. I appreciate every minute of it, and it's a way of ending my life because who knows how long I'll be around yet.
It's just been an honor to be part of your life. And
my gosh,
I know the team, Doug and myself, and everybody at Wisdom for the Blind has really enjoyed working with you. And we look forward to working with you in the future on other things. So you can't get rid of us yet. So
Ben, somehow I wish we'd run our paths across again.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Oh, I like that very much.
Well, it's been a pleasure letting me drop into your family for the holidays and talking with you. Is there anything that I've missed, guys, that you'd like to talk about?
The what?
No, I think you've covered it all.
No, what's in my heart, I could never express that to you people, but it's there. I should appreciate everything. I wonder.
Well, I appreciate you. Well, thank you very much to everybody. And what we're going to do is we're going to toss it to the studio and hear some more public service announcements, and then we'll come back and I'm going to close the show. Once again, thanks, Ed and your family. This has been for Vision of a Veteran from the Fort Lauderdale studios of Wisdom for the Blind. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's w4tb.org and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind.
Veterans deserve as much help as they can get. They put their lives on the line for their country, and yet there's still an ongoing mental health crisis among military veterans that needs to be addressed. Well, if you're a veteran who wants the support of fellow veterans and to support fellow veterans, join Wisdom for the Blind's Cup of Joe virtual coffee and chat. It's low-key, fun, and gives veterans an outlet to talk with others who fully understand what they're going through. Get connected at Wisdom for the Blind's website, w4tb.org/cupofjoe.
We've listened to a great show, and it was to honor our men and women during World War II. What you don't know is that this podcast was recorded almost a year and a half ago, and for one reason or another, it didn't get pushed into post-production or into the editing room. And the reason for that was because something always came up. It was a flood. It was time. It was one reason or another. Part of it was Mother Nature. Part of it was time. We didn't have enough time to put it together. What did happen was time ran out. And time's running out for all our veterans that participated in World War II. And I hope and I pray that everybody will take the time and recognize. Unfortunately, Ed's no longer with us. He was a great man. He was a great father, a great husband, a great friend, a great grandfather. But unfortunately, we didn't get this done in time to honor him for what he's done. And for that, I do take the blame. Please remember to honor our brothers and our sisters, the people that put their lives in harm's way to ensure that we have our freedom. Thank you to Ed's family for being with us and allowing us to make this show. And thanks again to you for listening. Please remember to share the wisdom. This has been with Vision of a Veteran from the Fort Lauderdale studios. Have a good day.
VA's Office of Blind Rehabilitation Services estimates there are approximately 130,000 veterans in the United States who are legally blind, and more than 1 million veterans who have low vision that causes a loss of ability to perform necessary daily activities. In this era of instant communication, where we get overwhelmed with data or facts that are useless to unsighted individuals, wouldn't it be great if we could count on news focused on real problems that impact the daily lives of veterans without sight? Introducing Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, an advanced informational portal designed by blind veterans specifically for blind and vision impaired vets that, like them, are facing challenges every day. Hi, my name is Ben, and I know the frustration. I've struggled in day-to-day tasks for over 20 years since I lost my eyesight. One of my biggest challenges has always been trying to stay up to date with the latest information of my eye disease, local news, and the ever-changing technology. I wanted to be able to have one single site that merged all the data scattered, and that's why we created Wisdom for Blinded Vets. This is a portal that can be accessed via the web, a smartphone app, telephone, email, text messaging, or Amazon's Alexa. It integrates with readers such as JAWS or Apple's VoiceOver and various other tools to give you a seamless experience. This portal will keep us updated on a variety of topics and will share knowledge that can help make our lives easier and more fulfilled. Highlights of the topics covered on the portal include podcasts, events, news, blind rehab and training, information on the BVA and other groups, a list of coordinator and bros list, online groups to interact with fellow vets facing the same challenges, and much more. Give us a try. You will not be disappointed. To learn more about us, visit our website www.w4bv.org. If you're interested in sharing your knowledge, please consider becoming a contributor by logging into our portal and going to the contributor section for more information. Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, transforming blind veterans' lives.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's4tb.org, and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind. Thanks for listening to this episode of Vision of a Veteran. Keep a lookout for the next episode coming soon. We hope you enjoyed our guests and got some ideas on how to navigate the seas to reach calmer waters. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And if you could, please donate to help support W4TB. You can do so at w4tb.org. It'll ensure that we can help more veterans as we move along. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Produced by Wisdom for the Blind and VNS Productions, a division of VNS International.